Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 35 of Are We There Yet? Lying Eyes. Before we get started, winner, Dr. Alexander 9. Woo, woo. Congratulations. You win a Vibratex toy. We will put your name in our info down below. Email us at emailawty@gmail.com. I got it right. Dyslexia. Yay. And you can pick out your toy, and we're so excited for you. So yay, don't forget everyone, there's still plenty of toys. Subscribe below, sign up on Instagram, and you will be entered to win a Vibratex toy. We pull it once a month. Could be you. So yay. All right, let's get into this. I'm your host, Susan Ruth.
And I'm your host, Mara Adelman, and we are two humans having the real conversations and raising the questions we all have about where is there when it comes to dating, relationships, and sex. Woo, woo. And today we're talking about infidelity, Lyin eyes, all different types of infidelity, emotional, financial, physical, all of the above. But first, my theirs. I am so happy that we have been doing these podcasts because I actually think it's going to get me straight around dating. So I hope it's helping everybody else out there, because we did those ones on slow dating and don't let people's representatives, do the whole thing. And so this guy I'm hanging out with, we're doing it really slow. Like, we're going to hang out tomorrow, but we're talking like a couple hours a night or every other night and like getting to know each other, which for me usually getting to know you instead of getting to bed you. I mean, normally we'd be doing a lot of in person, and that all moves too fast. So your favorite saying is like, pay attention to this could be people's representatives, right? And so I'm going to make sure this time that I don't screw it up by moving too fast. There's a couple of yellow flags, but I actually think they're going to be okay, but I'm seeing them and I'm slowing it down. And that was thanks to you, Susan.
Well, communication is key. Communication is key. Communication is key. I keep saying it, for all of us.
For all of us.
It feels like a real good space to really hold your own, stand your ground, not in a mean way or a bitchy way or anything like that, but just like I am confident that I deserve good things and I'm going to stand up for myself and get those good things.
My favorite quote from Grey's Anatomy, I play it in my head all of the time. My mom and I used to watch it together, is don't let Christina Yang to Dr. Grey was like, don't let what he wants eclipse what you need. He's really dreamy, but he is not the sun. You are the sun.
Oh, I like that. Isn't it funny that it's infidelity and not outfidelity?
Oh, that's a valid point. It should be.
If it was infidelity, you would be in a faithful thing. It's English language is confusing.
Yeah, because it's like you're going out on people. So any fun theirs to announce, and then we'll get into infidelity because it's fascinating.
Oh, it's exciting to announce. I'm not sleeping very well, but having really intense dreams. But it's weird because even though I'm not sleeping well, when I wake up, I feel wide awake. And then I'm exhausted about 4 hours later, and I haven't quite figured out what's going on, but I think my brain is just being very, very brainy, or you know what I mean? There's still a lot going on. Anyway, that's mine there.
Are you doing the 3 a.m. wake up? It's always 3 a.m. for a lot of people.
Oh, I think the 3 a.m. they call that water hour in a lot of Asian cultures, because apparently at 3 p.m. and 3 a.m. your body generally is quite dehydrated. It has gone the longest period between meals and or sleep that it needs water. And it tends to be your body waking you up to replenish. And you might find that you're really sleepy around 3 in the afternoon or 4 in the afternoon. It's water hour. And if you go and have a glass of water, it will help you to not have that experience.
You're literally blowing my mind. It happens to everybody I know, my clients, my patients. Why do I wake up at like 3 in the morning all the time? But that's also when the brain starts ruminating. And I said, it happens to everybody, but I have no good answer. And leave it to Susan to have a good answer. I can't wait to research that.
Called water hour. Yeah, check it out.
Water hour. Super cool. Okay, well.
You can learn a lot from a billion people.
Say again?
That we can learn a lot from a billion people.
Right?
Wisdom there.
There's a lot of wisdom in there.
A lot of ancient, awesome Eastern medicine. It's great wisdom in it. So
I'm going to research it and learn more because it's on my bucket list this year is to get a
let's get into it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, of course, my favorite person besides Matthew Hussey is Esther Perel. She is amazing. If you guys don't know her, anybody listening, find her, listen to her podcast. She looks at it as such a big holistic picture around these things. And so her concepts around infidelity were infidelity has never exacted such a psychological toll, because once upon a time, marriage was for financial purposes. And so if somebody cheated on you, you're more worried about maybe losing your status or losing all of these things, right? But now it's like, it's going to threaten people's, because it's now like a romantic arrangement as well. Then now it threatens your emotional security, your financial security, and it hurts a lot differently now because you expect your person to be your lover, your best friend, your trusted confidant, your companion emotionally, intellectually, and all of that says, I'm the one, I'm your one. And then infidelity says, I'm not your one. So of course it's hurting in a much different way, which is fascinating. But I think, look at the whole picture of it. Yeah.
Oh, to go back to the days when it was all about marrying land and finances, and you could, have your intimacy met through all the other people in the court.
Well, but so yes, but we should still be doing that. We always talk about that. Don't have that be your only person. And that's actually a theme that kind of runs through all of this.
But I mean, I think monogamy does work for people. There are some people where it works just fine, but infidelity, of course, generally speaking, I would say has very little to do with sex and has far more to do with how people feel about themselves, being wanted and being needed. There's also, and because you said we're not just talking about sexual infidelity, but also financial and all the others.
Yeah.
But I think we confuse pretty much everything with sex. That's just the culture we are in.
It's a huge theme running through here is that a lot of times it's not just about the sex. Sorry, but when I said the only one, what I meant was your partner, they can be your lover, and you better have other best friends and other trusted confidants and other people that you can bounce things off of, because it's going to keep coming up through here. Getting ready for this, I talked to a lot of people who I know who have dealt with infidelity, cheating, and are still together. And the biggest theme in all of that was my partner was no longer available to me 99% of the time, because they had health stuff, depression stuff. So their partner wasn't available to them. And so that's what led to a lot of it. Unfortunately, most of the people I've talked to it's the male partner who goes out in some way because their female partner is no longer available. And I think part of that is societally, again, you and I, how many people could you call right now and like spill your guts? Like, we got people. And a lot of the men I know don't have as many people. So when their person drops off, they have to go find another person.
It's funny because of the people I know, it's always been the women that have cheated. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, I mean, it's both.
It's definitely both. But yeah, I always think that's a fascinating thing. Your person is going through something traumatic, and maybe they don't have the skills to have you be present in that trauma. Right. And then it feels like isolation.
Right.
Ultimately, emotional affairs usually start first, right? And then they develop into sexual affairs. I think some people just want to have sex. Some people are like, I really like sex. And even if I have a partner that I'm supposed to be monogamous with, I'm going to go have sex with other people. And that's just that kind of person. But
those people should just be in another relationship.
Yeah, I agree. But, society doesn't really let them either, right? So we are built around a society that vilifies an idea, even though it biologically makes sense, even though we have the lizard brain telling us that spread your seed, go be a nomadic and have lots of sex, that we have set up a structure. And let's admit, marriage is $1 billion industry. We're constantly getting messaging that that's the thing you have to do in order to find love and happiness.
Totally. Married, white picket fence, children, all of that. But then that goes back more to, so the other piece about the societal norms is they play a huge part. If you think about it, it's almost like men are kind of given that license. You and I have said it on here, I think. Well, they want to spread their seed. It's biological. And so it's a fascinating thing where it's in books and movies, like it's like this thing that happens where it's a little more forgiving. Oh, boys will be boys. But I kind of call bullshit on that, where women hide and minimize it more. There are still 9 countries where women can get killed for straying.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And then in the United States, I didn't know this. I knew that, kind of like stoning and like killing people with stones. But in the United States, there's some states where it's still considered illegal, although they don't really do anything about it. And there's some states where you can still sue your spouse because of infidelity.
I feel like in Texas, I might be wrong, but I thought I heard this on a podcast somewhere that in Texas, you can shoot your wife for being unfaithful.
Oh
And
my
I was like,
God.
is that real? And then I thought, if it's going to be real, it's going to be Texas.
Oh, it would totally be Texas. It's not on the list of states here, which is
Okay.
surprising. I'm
I do know that
surprised.
you can be taken out of the military for cheating. It's considered, a very big no-no. Although obviously, I don't know how many people stick to that. But what's the word when you get taken out of the military?
Dishonorable.
Dishonorably discharged. Yeah.
Oh,
But there's
so
also a high instance of abuse, familial
huge
abuse in
rapes.
the military and in policing, I think. But that's a
All
whole
of it.
other topic. We're
All of it.
straying. Let's get back.
So back on this funny thing. So the other thing that Esther Perel mentioned was like, this is such a true thing. Before social media, before computers, you might find a receipt or some lipstick or like something would tell your gut, man or woman, oh, something's going on. Now what happens, everybody I've talked to, is the person thinks they've deleted everything off their phone, but they forgot that it's attached to the iPad or something's caught on the phone. So now your significant other literally can read the emotions that it just gives me horrible goosebumps, not the good kind. Like that's torture. It's happened to me in the past. So
we've all been cheated on for sure.
Yeah. So now it's like death by 1,000 cuts. You have to like really own it versus like maybe something's happening and I don't have to really absorb it, right? Oh. So has that happened to you where it happened to me where I saw one text and I took the phone and I sat in the bathroom with the door locked while he freaked out. And I was like, I'm sorry, I have purview of these texts now. And I went through them all and I was like, we're done. Thanks.
Yeah, I feel that when people are behaving out of against integrity, that they have subtle signs that show, even if they think they're okay doing it, that there are still hyper things that other people pick up on. We are sort of acutely in tune with each other, with humanity.
Yeah. Women more than men with our intuition, right?
I think it's supported more perhaps, but and I can't speak for, I mean, I don't know, I can only speak for myself, but it seems to me that I have heard from everyone that when their person was being unfaithful, that they use the terminology, I had a sense, I had a feeling. So it may be that we're just programmed to sort of, I mean, some people have the wool completely over their eyes and they have no clue whatsoever that it's going on. But I don't know, you're close to somebody, it's hard not to recognize a feeling.
And that something's totally different, right? Well, because you mentioned that. So experts say that partners who cheat, they start paying attention to their appearance more. They criticize their spouses more. They might give unsolicited gifts because they're feeling guilty.
They accuse you of cheating.
Yeah, if they're doing it, they often accuse you of doing it. So there's these subtle signs that you might go, or just retracting intimacy a little bit, sexually, but also emotionally, like less available.
Or extra.
Yeah. I have clients right now and the husband's not quite ready to fess up, but she's pretty sure something happened. And my spiel to them was, women's intuition is what keeps us alive a lot of the time. And you're essentially telling your wife that she's crazy, that she shouldn't listen to her gut. And then you're sending the wife and the mother of your children out into this crazy world thinking she shouldn't listen to her gut. So you need to rethink that, was kind of where I left it. I was like, you two can talk about it. Like maybe it was a very minimal thing. We'll get into all the different kinds, but it's not, men out there don't do that. And women too, but like, we have to learn to listen to our guts. It's what's keeping us alive half the time. Yeah. Bums me out. Where were we? Let's see. Oh, statistics. I love my statistics. So the American Association for Marriage and Family Therapy suggests that 25% of husbands have had sex outside their marriage. And if you add the emotional affairs, you're looking at 45%. That's almost half. That's crazy. Crazy numbers. And then the same study said that 15% of women sex outside the marriage. And if you go emotional, 35% of wives. So it is still less women. But again, this is reported numbers. So who knows? Esther Perel again said that the majority of couples end up staying together and some survive and some thrive from it because it opens up lines of communication. Most of the couples that I know are still together. Would you say that's true for yours that you know?
Nope, not at all. Maybe one or two, but not really, no.
But most of those are the females that cheated.
No, not necessarily.
Okay, I was curious if there was a difference because most of mine were the men that cheated, but the women forgave and they've opened up their lines of communication and all that, right?
Mhm. I think ultimately it has to do with what's the root of the cheating.
Exactly, 100%. So you keep like leading me right into the next topic. You're on fire, on fire. So risk factors. Why are some people more likely to cheat? This is crazy. So this is funny. A National Marriage Project study found that the higher your education, the less likely you are to cheat. So like 13% of people with a college education said they had sex outside their marriage. 19% who were moderately educated, and 21% of those who were the least educated. Interesting.
You know what? I would have thought that was flipped for some reason.
I feel like maybe the more educated you are, the more time and energy you have to put into becoming emotionally aware, maybe.
Maybe.
That came out of the blue. I'm just guessing. I don't know. Interesting, huh? And then also a study found that men who are completely dependent on their wives' incomes were 5 times more likely to cheat.
Aha, because it's not about sex, it's about how people feel about themselves.
And they don't feel good because they aren't making money. But also, ironically, the same study found that if men are the only ones bringing in the income, they also would. And the best is if their partners made at least 75% of their income. So keep them in their place, but make sure that I don't know what that is. Maybe they're out of the house more. They have more entitlement because they're like, I make all the money, so I can go have sex with whoever I want.
What happens in non-heteronormative relationships?
You know what? I should have studied that more. I haven't. My guess is that it's all very similar. If you've got masculine energy and feminine energy, and one of those people's making more or less, I could be wrong. I'd have to look.
I don't know. It's curious.
It is a curious thing because I don't think it's about female or male. It's like, you're the masculine energy. I'm going to go make the money. Oh, but then I can do what I want. I'm just guessing.
I don't know.
I'm just guessing on that one, but it's interesting. So, also that same thing said, women were least likely to stray when they depend on their husband's income, because they might have fewer opportunities if they were to cheat. So my moral to that was pick a person who's educated. Well, in my case, because if we're looking at the male statistics, I'm going to pick a man who's educated, who makes a decent income, but isn't the only income, because I have my own income, and has some outlets for support other than me. But again, these are just studies. Who knows, right?
I mean, ultimately, we are all individuals. However, we tend to fall into patterns that are pretty much statistically can be coerced into. But I mean, you can make a study, say whatever you want, depending on who's the one doing the study.
Well, and I don't ever have time to delve so deep.
No, totally.
I make sure they're a reputable place, National Marriage Project Founded. Okay, but then interesting also, if you grew up in a household that had more permissive attitudes towards infidelity, so somebody cheated in the house, but it was all okay, or normalizing infidelity, you're more likely to cheat. And also the quality and level of satisfaction of your relationship with your partner is the biggest thing, right? So if you have good communication, you feel closely intimate, you guys are bonded, it's less likely to happen, obviously. And open relationships are not immune. You've alluded to this every time I say how much I love open relationships for their open communication. But even Esther Perel was like, a conversation around non-monogamy is not the same as a conversation about infidelity. So again, I
agree 100%.
Susan's always right.
I'm not always right, but when I am right.
You're right. So that's fascinating.
Yeah. Non-monogamy has little to do with fidelity. And also something else you just said. I think the people that I know that have participated in infidelity have actually had a parent that behaved that way.
Yeah. So that permissibility thing where it was like, I saw it. We learn everything from our
whether
parents.
or not it was permissible.
Yeah, it happened
after it. Yeah.
Exactly. That's true. I've heard that from a lot of people. Oh, my dad cheated, I cheated. Interesting, because it's got made permissible somehow. So, God, I love Esther Perel. So I listened to this hour-long thing that she did. It was, I forget which one, but we linked down below. She's just so amazing. So her summation of why people cheat. At the heart of affair, longing, I can't do it with her fabulous voice. Everybody should listen to her. At the heart of the affair, longing for emotional connection, for novelty, for freedom, for autonomy, for sexual intensity, for the longing to recapture lost parts of ourselves, which again, doesn't always have to do with the other person, can be an attempt to bring back vitality in the face of loss or tragedy. You have somebody die in the family. It makes you feel alive. And then the question is like, is this it? Is there more? Will I ever have that desire feeling that I once had with my partner before? Will I get that feeling again? When people stray, it's not always turning away from their partner, but instead it's the turning back towards the person that they used to be and away from the person they have become.
100% agree with that statement.
She's so amazing. And she gives me goosebumps. And it's not always about looking for another person, but looking for another self.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's again, it's all about how we feel about ourselves. I mean, that's pretty much across the board. Anything we're going to ever talk about on this show is probably more rooted in how people feel about themselves than anything else.
However, I go back to like, if you have the right partner who makes you feel special, our partner, that's what happens. You're
not our partner's job though.
No, I know, but you're ping-ponging energy. If you're with somebody where every time you leave their company, you feel icky energy, well then
don't be with that person.
Don't be with that person.
Yeah.
I know.
But it's not, that's sort of, this is my big argument. I think I've said this before on the show. My biggest argument with the book, The Giving Tree, Shel Silverstein, it's like, oh God, what a horrifically codependent book.
Right? Yeah.
And people give it as this sort of touchstone of relationships, but this poor tree is given everything it's got and the kid still wants more. You know what I mean? It's not healthy.
One of my 5th elements of essential relationship goals is you have to have self-preservation. That poor tree had no self-preservation.
No, and I just think it's not another person's responsibility, period.
No, it's not. But again, you should be with somebody where both whatever works is making each of you feel even better than before. You should be good.
I mean, a rising tide lifts all boats. For sure.
A rising, we got to write that one down.
I know. That wasn't mine. That's old school.
It's a good one. I've heard it before. Okay, yeah. So for time's sake, where are we? Oh, I like this part.
The financial infidelity.
Oh no, we'll get to that. But this is such an interesting fact. There are some, I forgot to write down the gene, but I was reading, there's evidence that a gene that's linked to sensation-seeking behaviors, drinking, gambling, sex addiction, may also be associated with sexual promiscuity and infidelity. The study focused on the gene, and that's the one that gives you the reward feeling. And people with the variation of that gene were likely to commit infidelity 50% more than people who didn't have it.
Dang.
That's crazy. So it's that same dopamine gene, right? We're all chasing the dragon, eating, drinking, fucking, all of those things, shopping, all of it. So, yeah. And then if you look at an affair, what is it? It's secretive. That gives you dopamine. You get an emotional connection with somebody else. That sexual alchemy, where you're like, ooh. So, and remember, brain is the biggest sex organ. So now you're not getting to be together all the time because the person you live with is there all the time, but you're getting all that ooh feeling.
That's why I love the show Modern Family, when every few months, Claire and Phil would go to that hotel and meet at the bar as strangers.
Yes.
It's brilliant. That show was brilliant on so many levels, but that particular thing is such a great idea. That's why role playing is such a healthy part of a relationship, because you can excite those parts of you that are longing for something new and different, and yet not go outside of the partnership.
Out actually doing it, right? The guy I'm talking to right now had made a comment like he would never do it because he's got integrity, but he's like, that thought of like sleeping with a married lady, I would never do it. I'm like, role playing. Like, yeah.
What is that?
That's what role playing's for.
Super fun.
Super fun. So everybody try that if you're feeling a little like in a rut with your partner. Experts say that most often men and women have different reasons. Men search for sex and attention. Women look to fill a little bit more of an emotional void, but this is just generalizations. I do find if men lose their emotional support that it might drive them to start, and then it leads to the sex. Women tend to have an emotional connection with their lover. They do it more because they're lonely and they don't have that emotional, they're not having intimacy with their current partner.
And also look at like the work wives and work husbands. We've all had them.
Oh, right? Yeah.
And it's you spending all this time with somebody, and I think it feeds that sort of, I think a lot of, I don't know if that's in your statistics, but I'm going to guess that a lot of affairs start in the workplace.
Half of the people that I know, that was the case. Yeah. I watched one before in person at my work, and it was hard because I knew both the husband and the wife. And it started out, you could feel the energy, and you're just like, oh, don't go there, don't go there. I lost track of my pages. So how many times do you think you've been cheated on, or that you know about?
I have suspicions over one person because they started accusing me, and I thought, or they just got really jealous and progressively more. And I was like, okay, that person cheated, clearly. Never admitted, never found out for sure, but certainly had suspect behavior, behavior that wasn't in integrity, and was real cagey and would get angry when I tried to talk about it. Those are all pretty big red flags. And the behavior started after he got back from a long trip with his friends to Europe. So I was like, I'm not an idiot. Anyway, the other one was interesting because it came from a relationship where I was dating two people. They both knew about each other. It was very, very casual summer flings type stuff, but with integrity and safety. And everybody else was doing whatever they were doing. I didn't have an issue with it as long as everybody's safe. And then one of those people came to me and said, I want a monogamous relationship. I'm in love with you. And I searched myself and I thought, yeah, I think I love you too. And so I said, let's do it, and committed to a monogamy. And then within a few months, got him cheating.
What a shit bag.
Good news is I was in a good place that I understood that it had little to do with me. I found out later, of course, some of his exes came to me. It was a very small town, came to me and said, oh, this is just him. It had nothing to do with you. And I said, I didn't think it had to do with me. But here's the thing is the one person I thought that was for sure the person that he cheated with actually called her on the phone. And I knew who she was, just in our extended group. And I said, look, this is pretty sneaky on my part, but I said, look, I know you two got together. And she said, he told you? And I said, no, but you just did.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well played.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well played. I've had probably two people that I know for sure, one other one. And the only time I ever cheated was when I was in 20 with my first boyfriend that I moved out of home with, and we lived together. And I kind of was trying to blow it up. I don't think I was ready for any of that. I blew it up and then I told him. And then I
think people do that self-sabotage thing. I've never cheated, but I would say
after that, never again. It felt horrible.
Yeah, I'd say I've had emotional connections with people that probably started to cross a line emotionally.
Right.
With this one particular guy I was talking about, you're talking about intuition. I was actually on a trip and I was working out in the hotel gym, and my stomach just got sour all of a sudden. I ran to the bathroom, was very sick, and I just knew in my heart that he had done something. And I called him and said, did you do something? And he's like, no, what are you talking about? I was like, okay. But it just kept gnawing at me. And it turned out that in that moment when I was feeling that, it was in the moment he was doing.
Talk about intuition.
Yeah. Yeah. I learned a lot though.
I said intuition and my stomach growled at the same time. Did you hear that? Most of the time you feel it right there in that gut zone. Okay, well, I'm sorry that happened. It's horrible. It's all,
whatever.
That's how we learn.
It's life under the bridge, my dear.
Life with water under the bridge. So types of infidelity. So physical, obviously sexual connection outside the relationship, emotional. And a lot of times you're right. It starts emotional, goes physical. Mm-hmm. So we've got the emotional intimacy with another person, and they can do just as much damage, if not more. For women, a lot of times if it's an emotional affair, it can feel worse. I think if my guy was like, I got really drunk, I made a mistake, I had sex with somebody, it's never going to happen again, I'd be like, okay, let's talk about it. If it's, I've been talking to this person for a year, she's like my best friend now, I'd be like, well, then she's your new person, because I want to be your confidant, right? That's just me personally. Then you've got the cyber infidelity, which happens all the time now. Social media makes it so easy. Online messages, DMs, chats, forums, all of that, right?
Porn, I think pornography would fall into that too.
Porn totally falls into that. Erotic stimuli, porn, chat rooms, what do they call it? The cams, girl cams. Yeah. All of that falls into it. And if your partner knows about it, so like I'm okay with some porn use. I use a little bit of porn, but if my guy was like, I'm using porn every single day and I'm disconnecting from you, then I'd be like, yeah, maybe not. And if you're hiding it because you don't want to talk about it, well, no, that's we talked about the porn addiction stuff in the past. Object affair is interesting when somebody's more focused on something else. Phone, their work, any like huge object,
Car, running,
their car, anything that takes all of their energy away from the relationship, right?
That's an emotional affair, I think.
Yeah, it feels that way, but if it's your phone, it's not really emotional. But it's an object thing where, like, I can't think of another good example. Yeah, your car. You care more about your car, and you're going to car shows every week, and you're like, look at how cool I am, and you're not paying attention to your partner, right? And then of course financial, and that happens a lot because finances are besides sex, children, finances are the other biggest thing in relationships that are hard. And so if somebody's spending money, stealing money, doing things that they shouldn't be, taking out loans, that would feel horrible too. It's like we're supposed to be communicating about these things.
And that could also have devastating consequence.
Oh, huge, especially you see it on TVs all the time. I know somebody, yeah, all of a sudden your house is in hawk and you didn't know that was about to happen. I'd almost put that as high because it's security, right? That's almost as high as emotional to me. Sex is lower for me. Everybody's different, right? Like, yeah, no, that would be not okay. And then we've got micro cheating. So that's a term for actions that bother a partner. So flirting that crosses a line. There's no intention of actually straying, but they're that partner that's always ogling somebody or always making comments they shouldn't. I had a friend whose man was like that. I was always like, can you just not do that in front of her all the time? And then the combination, of course, which is usually like emotional turning into cyber, turning into sexual. They all stink. And so the reason, again, we'll go to some tips at the end about how to keep it from happening, hopefully. But the reasons people cheat, so lack of affection, your partner's not emotionally available, you're feeling super lonely and rejected and neglected. You have such a fear of intimacy that you're doing it on purpose because then it means you don't have to be close to your partner. Let's see, you've fallen out of love. Self-esteem, body issues where you're like, I'm just going to go see if I can get my ego boosted, right? They're all bad reasons because what does it come down to? Communication. If you communicate well with your partner, then you could probably solve most of those things other than maybe your total fear of intimacy, because then you won't be talking to your partner.
Well, and most people go away from instead of toward, right? In all things emotional. So
yeah, because you want to run away from it because it doesn't feel good. Doesn't give you the dopamine, like all the good chase the dragon feelings.
All right, so what do we do?
Well, first, so of course, the effects on the relationship. So you're going to have anxiety, depression, anger, self-loathing, low self-esteem, hysterical bonding, which is that thing where like that happened, but now like I want you more for anxious attachment styles. Come fix it. I want you. We'll figure it out. I did that once years ago. I will never do that again. Right? It's also like that weird competition thing.
Yeah.
We're like, oh well, let me show you who's better at all. Yeah, it was icky. I was young. Ugh, gross. So on that note, tips. And of course, we link down below to a bunch of tips. So reasons have emotional failure, reasons people do it, 7, all of those things, what to do if you can't trust your partner. We did a quiz down below that both of us looked at, but really it's more about like, how do you know that there's infidelity going on in your relationship? And since we're not having to deal with that right now, here's the tips. So you got to address it right away. Even when you just have that first gut inkling, do not wait until like you have proof. Be like, hey, something's feeling weird. Can we talk about our trust levels, our infidelity, like our just talk about it, right? Spying is not the best thing because you can definitely prove that there was an affair by seeing you, but you might not be able to prove that there wasn't. So you see a text and they texted their ex-girlfriend to say hi. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean anything's happening. I text my exes sometimes, but now you're in spy mode. So now every little thing, what is that conscience? Oh my God, I'm totally gonna forget the word. Confidence, bias.
Sure. Yeah, it's a bias. Sure.
Yeah. So essentially, you're proving what you're looking for.
Yeah.
There's a word for it, which is not coming.
There is a word for it. I can't think of it right now.
Yeah, it'll pop in our heads at the end, like it always does.
Sorry for the traffic thing.
So try not to spy too much. The first priority of couples should be build trust again. Seek help together. It's okay to like do separate counseling, but you need to be focusing on that together. Couples that I have dealt with on that, I don't send them separate homework. I send everything together. It's a together thing so that they can bring themselves back together. the person who was betrayed should be the person setting the timetable. So this is what I need. Here's what it should look like. Here's how I need it to feel better, because the other person kind of screwed up and they need to go take one for the team a little bit. Again, Esther Perel, God, I love her. She was like, you need to get past that investigative phase, which is why, how come, was she better? Was that person here? She better than me? How many times? And get more into that curious phase of what led us to this?
Yeah.
Why did you do it? Where did it, like, what felt good to you? Like, are you sad that that person's no longer around? Obviously they meant something to you. Like, more curious, which happens after you get through the anger and all the 5 stages of grief. Now you need to get curious. And then hopefully after the disorder comes a new order where there's more honesty, more open communication. You have less fear of loss. You rebuild. Don't decide anything right away unless you're just done and you know you're done. Hold on, get the counseling together that you need. See a coach. I coached a couple people through this. It's not fun, but you can find your way back. Make sure the person who cheated is being accountable and that there's happened. A couple of people that I've talked to, this happens a lot. They're accountable for about half of it. It's emotional cheating, but then they don't fess up to the physical part, which is
Right.
If it gets you back to where you need to be and it's never going to happen again, at least you're being halfway accountable, right?
Yeah. Excellent information. And I don't mean to be quick to the job, but for once I actually have to run to another meeting.
Yep.
So we have to wrap it up.
One less sentence. Let's see.
I'm just telling them I'm going to be late. So.
Yeah, no, totally. I get it. I lost track of time. This one turned it. Yeah, there's just a lot. This is such a big thing. Seek support, take your time, listen to all the links below. And I hope if it's happened to you, you can find a way back to your partner, especially if kids are involved, right?
Yeah, and just, am I on? No, I'm not on mute. It's such a loud day today. I'm sorry. The big thing is to just know that you can be there for yourself.
Yeah.
Be there for yourself and what works for you.
Yeah, 100%.
To get to healing.
If it's happened, find a coach, find a therapist, work through it for yourself and hopefully together as a couple.
Yeah.
We love all of you. I love you, Susan.
Yeah, love you. Bye, everybody.
Everybody be well.
Bye.